All right, traders, good afternoon. This is Christian from Semiconductor Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Thursday, March 16th. So I would call this a little bit of a hangover day, a little bit of a digestion day. I will go through some charts with you guys, of course, to kind of just show you what my interpretation of today's price action and what the major indices are telling us. Before we do any of that, risk disclaimer in front of us, everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. And today is Thursday, so tomorrow I will probably do one more public end of day video, and then next week will be all member videos, and that's where I really kind of dig into our watch list and dig into open positions, talk about trade management, kind of get into the nitty gritty of trading and trade management and execution. So I'll be doing that every day next week for members only. And if you're not a member of Tribeca Trade Group, you could go to tribecatradegroup.com and you can put in coupon code TTG new to get half off your first month. I think it's a great deal. Check it out, and this way you can you can determine if that type of format is value add for you. So let's get into a couple of the charts, and then I'll talk a little bit about price action. But here's where we are, right? We made it all the way through the value area, so very, very nice. A couple observations here, just to kind of rehash this here for a quick 30 seconds. It basically was a bit of like a W reversal, right, or W type pattern. This was one of the scenarios that we kind of thought about, but it was very kind of simple and clean in terms of watching the price get above, even if you're not using the value areas, just something as simple as the 5-period moving average, right? I talked about that when we were having this episode of dip or correction. Well, correction's officially 10%, which we never got there, but we're just waiting for price to get back above its 5-period moving average. And I'm pointing this out for a reason today. But once we got above here, there really was no question. There's a couple tests in here, and I hope that you could see this on your screen. I'm just going to blow this up a little bit. But there was a couple of these dojis and so forth. So you had to be patient on a couple of these days, but you never ever got a sell signal. Maybe on this day it looked like intraday, but of course the closing print is the most important thing. Now let's fast forward to where we are. Right, we did make it through the value area, and we actually went past it. So now you're kind of looking at, and like, where is price in relation to support? It's a little bit above, right? And what was the phrase that I've been using a lot the last couple of days is, what was resistance is now your support. So I think this little back check that we might be getting, we're kind of halfway there. We don't have to go all the way into the top of value, but if we did, like, there's positives about that, right? It kind of burns off all this like bullish sentiment that you're seeing on Twitter, and it kind of resets things a little bit, and it would also allow this 5-period moving average to catch up, because notice what happened in here, right? We got a little bit above, and then we went sideways, let that 5-period moving average catch up. So I think that's just shows that we're a little bit extended. Also with the RSI, we did get a little bit overbought too. So I know like everybody was kind of felt like raring to go and looking for continuation today, but we've already had a month of continuation, right? I mean, the market's been basically, besides these little back checks, the market's basically been up for the last 2-3 weeks. So it's important to have that in the back of your mind, so that you're not getting, I think I used in the end of my end of day video yesterday, or it may have been pre-market this morning, but just not getting over the tips of your skis with risk and not getting too exuberant. What we had today, by the way, was, like, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 Fed speakers, basically just trying to tone down things. And it seems like they have like a little thing going on with, but good cop, bad cop, right? Powell seems to be the good cop, and all the other Fed speakers tend to be a little bit of like the bad cop. And they're continuing to kind of make sure that and like really over communicate that they're not ready to lower interest rates, and they're just nailing down that point, and it kind of just takes the oomph out of the market, because the algos pick up on those types of things. Does it change the picture? at all in terms of like what they've been saying? No, they've been saying the same thing, and I get it. Like they have a job to do, and they want to make sure that inflation does come down. So, but you're just gonna, we have to contend with that. That's the environment that we're in, right? The Qs. Look at the Qs as well, right? I mean, this is even more a bit extended, right? So that's a little bit of a toppy looking candle, and like even if we sat back in here, we could have another day in here where it would just be an inside day. So I would be mindful of that, and and again, just the old like curb your enthusiasm. Again, it doesn't change the picture to back and fill a little bit, right? It just cuts down a little bit on the exuberance that's been out there after yesterday's price action. Another thing too is we just don't have that many trending type days. You can kind of look on this chart going back a few months, like how many times do we have trending days, right? So here was a big one yesterday, right? We did have one the day before that too. But look back. I guess there are some in here, but remember, a lot of times what this market likes to do is rally into the open and then sell off a little bit. The much better profitable trade is to buy the open, buy the close and sell the open. I try to remind people of that like once a week, just so that they understand that concept, right? It is not buy the open and hold throughout the day, right? It's very much sell on the open, check out how things are going for the rest of the day, and maybe put on some trades at the end of the day, right? That's more of the winning formula over time than what a lot of people think that they're going to do in the beginning of the day, which is start and put on a whole bunch of trades, in the first hour. It doesn't, like, that's not a high conviction or like a high probability win, right? Because we just don't get that many trending days, at least in my opinion. All right, so let me get back here. I wanted to cover a couple single stock charts, and we could start with what was the best performer. We keep hearing about a little bit more and a little bit more of this China stimulus that we get in overnight, and that's strong. And I am long the I manage two portfolios at Tribeca Trade Group. I have my trading account, and I also have my what's called the TTG trend portfolio, which very much operates as an ETF, right? Because it's a portfolio of names, and it's about 50 names right now, but but it doesn't trade on an exchange. So it does. There is a way that you can mimic the portfolio. That's an M1 Finance, is the broker that I use, because it allows me to do portfolio type basket trades. But KWEB did take out that virgin point of control up here. So this is the issue with this, right? And it's like, again, this is also, I'm going to use this expression a couple times in this video, but it's a little bit of curb your enthusiasm with this, right? This had a nice move, but you're going to hit a lot of overhead supply. We just hit a virgin point of control, which could mean that we take a pause here, because that was an area where there was a lot of volume previously. So we'll see what happens here. BABA got a lot of attention today, even though, BABA kind of fell a bit on its earnings, right? It kind of fell back in here, but it held its support, back checked that 200-day moving average, and had one hell of a day today. So next VPOC is 9170 for this name. We could look at this in terms of the weekly chart too, right? The bullish 80% rule is now in effect for Alibaba. So I don't think there's anything wrong, even though their earnings weren't really that good. Right? I think everybody can kind of agree on that. Like, they're not growing like they used to, but it's not an expensive company either. So, momentum can kind of take precedent, and maybe this continues to go. I'm also, I've been the name that I've been long, which has worked really well for me, which is PDD. And I just really haven't had a reason to take it off. I've taken multiple targets. I actually took another target today, and nice little move here coming out of this like bull flag, right? It held in here pretty nicely. A couple of days it almost, I gave it a little bit more tolerance because I already took multiple targets with this one in my trading account. Not in I have this in the TTG trend portfolio as well, but I haven't taken a target in that portfolio, but I have taken multiple targets because I got long this thing, very early on, and it's worked out pretty well for me. FUTU is another name too, right? I just got to go over some of the names that's, I know everybody talks about Baba and Baidu, but look at this FUTU. And again, I will always talk about the names that are doing this, that are breaking out to new highs because they don't have any overhead. Well, this one does have overhead supply. I'm sorry about that. You're going back now from a long time ago. This has just been acting better. Notice it's above its value area for the year versus other things like Baba and other stocks in the Chinese internet group are inside their value area. Again, I always prefer the ones that are breaking out. Why? Because that to me indicates strength, right? And if something has been doing very well while the rest of the group has been doing poorly, I'll always stick with those. That's relative strength. I don't want the relative weakness names. That's for somebody else to deal with and try to figure out when they're going to reverse. I'll go with the trend any day of the week and the stronger name. So this FUTU has been pretty good. All right, so that's one group that I wanted to cover in today's video. Here's our watch list. So some things lost their strength today. I actually have to update this a little bit, but consumer discretionary. Again, this is just a momentum type scan, right, of showing things that are above their 520 and 50-day moving average. You can see some things kind of fell back below, right? Home builders, for example, that should not be coded, right? That was a big move today. Very interesting because, you really kind of have to, going to use the word savvy, I guess here, be savvy in your trading. I think I did cover the home builders yesterday, and I talked about how that I just wasn't going to chase into that move yesterday. Sorry, I was just listening to Bloomberg squawk there for a minute. But yeah, I mean, this is really difficult. Sometimes things are going to get faked out like this. And I looked at this group and I looked at all the home builders. All right, just wanted to post that headline. It's about Reddit and OpenAI. So yeah, this is tricky, right? I mean, that's a big reversal bar. It doesn't break the trend, but I was even looking. Today I actually bought a little bit of Pulte. I may have to dump that tomorrow. We'll see if it holds. I thought most of these, around midday, were showing about like an inside day. So this is kind of an interesting watch, I think, for tomorrow. We'll see. Right. Because again, I really like the breakout in a lot of the home builders yesterday. So I was like, okay, I'll buy this pullback. But they just kept on pulling back today. And a pretty nasty day. This was down 3.5%. That whole home building group for the day was down 3%. So I mean that's a big move back in that group. And again, the catalyst there was weaker than expected housing data this morning. Also, retail down again. XRT was down 1.2%. Again, those meme stocks. I hope that helped some people. I talked about how this thing is probably going to be short-lived again. And again, I don't know, I can't really speak to Roaring Kitty and that whole phenomenon, but a trade is a trade. And the AMC trade that I made earlier in the week, was perfect because I knew that this had a chance to ramp for like another day. And look at it, it's given back the whole thing. So the tweet that I sent out the other day was, hey, besides, because obviously we saw short squeezes and from everything from Beyond Meat to all these names with high short interest. And you just have to think that these names are in downtrends. They can bounce like crazy. They could squeeze in downtrends, but ultimately they're going to go right back to where they were. It's kind of like an artificial type move. It's a gamma squeeze. And once that happens, because the short interest was never got to the levels of what you saw in 2021. So there's just not that much to cover. So in any event, look at the volume in these things. And so this was, I thought this was a really good trade in the trading room, and it was just really smart to kind of get out. I got out of this at 12.20 and then finally at $11. I also sold some at $8 too, but just amazing to kind of see that fizzle very quickly too. All right, a couple other names that I wanted to mention. The semi group, talked a lot about the semiconductors yesterday. Let's revisit this. I actually had some calls left over that were expiring tomorrow. And it's also options expiration too tomorrow. So we always get a funky day in there too with options expiration, but there's nothing wrong with this semi chart either, right? It's just, it might come in and back and fill a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about NVIDIA, because I still hold some NVIDIA, and I'm going to try to hold it until the earnings date of next week. Again, I don't know what they're going to do on earnings. The expectations will be super high, so I don't like that. So I would much rather try for the bird in the hand type trade, and earn profits and hope that it continues to run into earnings. But yeah, it's a little bit of a reversal. It did go higher this morning and reversed a little bit. And SMCI was the other one that I was talking about. This one a bit weaker, right? And you have to and the way that I would think about this name, even though this is the bullish 80% rule is in effect, so I would watch this 50-day moving average. Notice how it tried to get above here and try to go higher this morning and got rejected. It's amazing because we pointed this out in the room this morning that there was a 5-minute VPOC here, and it got firmly rejected at that, even just on the 5-minute chart. So again, it's important to pay, depending on what your time frame is, it's important to pay attention to those to multiple time frame analysis, which is what we do a lot with using the value areas MarketWebs. And then finally, just the shipping names, right? They continue to be strong. This is STNG. This had a nice move today. I did put this in the TTG trend portfolio last week, right? So I'm looking for a move up to 280. A couple other just in the commodity space. I want to just touch upon copper. Copper has been going crazy, but look at what it's been happening here the last couple of days, and look at the volume. Right. So notice that once you get to these blue lines, virgin point of controls, they become a battle between sellers, right? So overhead supply, right, and new buyers. And a lot of times this is what you're going to get. Right, the price action just slows down because these sellers may win out the battle. So it becomes a tug of war or a battle with buying and selling, right? Because we know that there's a lot of volume that has previously occurred here. The last one, this one got faded for a little bit. Check back to the 20-day moving average. This one, the buyers won out. This one, I think this time, there's too much selling going on, and I think this thing's going to consolidate at copper. The other commodity that I wanted to go over is nat gas. Let's see if I can find this in here. I don't know why they always put these exchanges up here. This is the one I want. Make charging pretty decently from the lows. So again, this is a pretty decent move. And same thing with other names in downtrends, right? Look at the squeeze the last time, right? And then it all came back undone, right into the 200-day moving average, right into this previous VPOC. Now, I don't know if we're going to see another move up here to the 200-day moving average. That would be quite aggressive, but it is trending, and right now it's above the 5-period moving average. So again, you could kind of, like with the moving averages, you can kind of take the guesswork out, and you could basically just chalk it up to right now it's trending, right? And as long as it stays above the 5-period moving average, it's got a chance to get to that VPOC up there. I got involved in this trade, which didn't get off to a good start. This is Antero Resources. We'll see if it kind of holds in here, but I like how the 50-day moving average kind of caught up with the price. But I don't want to see another candle like this and then fade. So we'll see. And, possibly not gas might be the futures might be the catalyst for this. All right, guys, that is it for today's recap. Again, the phrase I think of today is curb your enthusiasm, right? Just understand, the one thing that I mentioned to members earlier today too is with interest rates at 5%, right? Regardless if they actually do cut rates once, does that really matter from 5% to 4.75? Like, people get so wrapped up in what the Fed is, like the headlines and so forth. But I'll leave you with this. Do you really think it's going to be that much of a difference between 5% and 4.75 or 4.5? Because they're not going to cut rates. They're talking about once or twice, right? So I don't think it makes that much of a difference. So the market has been doing pretty well all along with this because earnings have been strong and so on and so forth. But just keep in mind, I don't think it's going to be every day is going to be a growth day. I think that we're going to get this mix of value and growth, right? So I know sometimes when we see all the semis go crazy like we did yesterday in software, which has not really acted well this, for the last few months, right? I don't think it's going to be that this is going to be the group that is going to lead us higher. But I'll change my opinion if the price action changes. If we get through the value area and get through this virgin point of control. But look at the difference between software and look at the difference between Qs, right? So software, even though it's had a good week, right, it's still an underperforming area. So I think putting these things in perspective, and even if they raise rates and get them all the way down to 4.5%, I don't think that you're going to see it's going to go back to a market that it was when interest rates were at 1% or at 0%. So it's very important, that's why I try to maintain right now, a pretty balanced portfolio. Like I'm not in all growth stocks because I don't think that's the market that we're in. And I don't think that, as much as there's a lot of people who love growth stocks, a lot of individual traders, I think the pattern is going to be, I've been overweight financials. I actually took off Wells Fargo today, by the way, but I think it's going to be some financials, some material names, right, and some growth names too. I'm not boycotting growth, but I think that you just have to be selective in that group. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.